Okay, hello everybody. It is Sharon here from Content Sparks, and we have a brand new course we just released yesterday that I'm going to be going through today. So before I get started, just let me know if you're having any problems hearing me. As you can see, my background is a little bit different than usual. That's because I'm streaming from London, where I'm in an Airbnb that I've been at before. So let me know if you can see me, hear me, any issues at all. I'll give you a very quick introduction to the course, which is called the Consulting Success Formula. So this is perfect for anyone who does any kind of consulting in their business. And by consulting, that covers a huge range of different skills, different topics, different businesses. So there are some businesses that are purely consulting, and there are some that have a consulting aspect to them. So by consulting, I mean, and I'll go through this in the course, the differences between consulting and coaching, but people call themselves marketing consultants, change management consultants, training consultants. I did consulting for years and years, working with big corporations, helping them diagnose what their training solution should be, what problems there were that training would help solve, and then putting together that solution and implementing it. So a lot of people have that as part of their business, whether it's website development, you're a consultant, you're analyzing the situation, putting together a proposal, and then implementing the solution. So there are a lot of skills involved here, and the course goes through that. So again, I'm looking out at the comments. Do let me know if you can't hear me or see me. Obviously, you can't hear me if I just said that. um, and if you have any questions at all, drop them into the comments. I will keep an eye out, but I'm going to be talking pretty fast, going through the course and all that consulting success formula keys, the concepts, the models, everything else in the course so that you understand exactly what's involved. You'll see how you can apply a lot of these things yourself and how you can teach it to other people. And I'm sure you have far more people in your audience than you realize who need these skills. I think you'll recognize them as we go through. So I won't spoil that just yet. But as I said, look in the comments. I'm also going to just quickly pop up the URL for the course. That's called contentsparks.com/consulting skills, though the course is called Consulting Success Formula. All right, so I see we have a few people already. I know a lot of people come on late, watch this as a replay. Again, you can just leave questions in the comments and I'll keep an eye out for those as we go through. All right, so I am just going to hop straight over to the course. And first, I'm going to share my screen. And you'll see that this is the page you'll land on if you go to this URL, contentsparks.com/consulting skills. And the course again is called the Consulting Success Formula. That's the one I'm going to be walking through today. And you're going to learn what is exactly involved in that success formula. So I'm going to hide that. And again, you'll quickly see this is what the page looks like. It's all about building a thriving consulting business. I'll show you the early bird bonuses. And then there's a little bit about the course here, why people fail as consultants, and the roadmap, which is what I'm going to take you through now. So you can just go through this at your leisure when you want to take a look at exactly what's involved in the course, and then head over to that URL when you're ready to pick it up. I'll share it again at the end too, but it is again it's contentsparks.com/consulting skills. Okay, so that's the page. Now let's head over to the course itself. So I'm going to be looking back and forth here at my other monitor. And what I'm going to do to help you is actually go through the slideshow. That's in the instructor materials. So when you get the course, you get a set of student materials, instructor materials, and a full set of lead generation materials, which is the sales funnel, or the funnel that you would use to actually build an audience for the course and then sell it, get people to enroll. But today I'm going to focus on the content of the course itself. So what you would be teaching And it's all stuff that you would want to apply yourself in your own business if you do any type of consulting. And again, you'll recognize it when you see it. So I'm going to open up the slideshow. And you should be able to see that now on your screen. And again, I'll keep an eye out for comments. So this is called the Consulting Success Formula. Master the skills and practices for winning proposals and delighting clients. And I'm going to be showing you inside the slideshow itself, so you won't see what a student would necessarily see when you present this or record it as video, because most people do like to record it as a video. I have it as the presenter view so that you can see that there are notes under each of the slides, so that when you do it, you can actually have notes there to reference, okay? So again, it's all brandable, just like all our other stuff. And the introduction is going to go through a little bit about consulting. So a consultant is someone who provides unbiased analysis, insights, and recommendations. And there are a variety of skills that you need to be a good consultant. We talk about this in the course, things like confidence, professionalism, respect for others' opinions, sensitivity, humility, all familiar, right? And there are a bunch of different components to a proposal process. That's for actually winning and getting those clients. So there are things like pre-proposal meetings, writing the proposal, delivering it, agreeing on it, providing the deliverables themselves, evaluating success. That is all part of that formula, that consulting success formula. So there are the qualities and skills, and then there's the process itself. So in terms of the roadmap through the course, you can see there's a number of different elements and modules you're going to go through. There's the qualities and skills we talked about, the pre-proposal meeting and what you need to do in there, how to actually propose your services and win the client, setting up performance measures, implementing a consulting process. And that varies a lot from business to business. So I'm going to be going through, which of course goes through the keys that apply to any consulting, okay, and the success and getting results. Then there's the things like a kickoff meeting, the keys to actual success, and bringing the project to a conclusion. That's where you actually report the results to a client so that they see that you've delivered, and so that you can obviously get follow-on business too. And then there's evaluating your own success. So that's the roadmap. I'm going to be speaking very quickly, but I will look out for comments, and I'll skip over certain things. So if you want me to stop at any point, show you something again, just let. All right, so outcomes. The outcomes of the course are for your students. That's every course that you deliver should have some sort of course outcomes explained. So we've got explore consulting models, decide which is the best fit for you. You'll see what I mean on that in a second. Demonstrate the key qualities and skills. So these are outcomes as in your students will do all this. They'll be able to do all this. So they'll be able to demonstrate those qualities and skills of a high-performing consultant. They'll be able to write and present winning project proposals and use technology for that. They'll be able to agree on parameters with their clients and use proven practices there. And they'll be able to evaluate a project's success and draft an end-of-project report. So those are the key outcomes. All right. Again, if anyone's having any issues, I am looking out for comments here. Now, let's dive right into that. So the first part, which type of consultant are you? This is where there are the two different models we talked about. And the first is, why do companies hire consultants in the first place? And I mentioned before that there is a difference between coaches and consultants, and people get confused about the difference between the two. So to simplify things, basically, a coach is someone who facilitates and enables a client to be able to do something themselves, whereas a consultant recommends and implements. So you'll have business coaches who will take an objective view, work with a business owner to help them make decisions and see which way they want to go in terms of strategy, things like that. A consultant will come in and also do some evaluation, but then recommend that solution and do it. typically they do it as well, or they might do it with the person. So that's really the difference. One facilitates and enables, one recommends and implements. And you'll see that there are notes in here so that when you actually teach this, you'll have explanation and speaker notes to work from. And people hire consultants because they do provide a certain expertise and can suggest solutions to problems. And it could be because they have a shift in a company direction. And this is all business people hiring consultants. There are consultants in other areas like, closet organization, wedding planning is a common example. Those are all consultants as well. But in terms of businesses, they'll hire because there's poor employee performance. So someone like a training consultant would come in and look at that. Why is there poor employee performance? And figure out, okay, what's a good solution? Is there training involved here that needs to be done? Is it management training that needs to be done? What exactly do they need to learn? And then put together that course. So that's the sort of thing I used to do. But there could be stagnant revenue. So somebody who has an expertise in business growth. So a business growth consultant might come in to help with that. New initiatives to implement. Say you want to do a company wants to do a rebranding. If you're a branding consultant, that's the kind of thing you might be coming in to help them out with. Improvements in an existing process. So there are people that specialize in that, just in optimizing systems. And that's the kind of thing you would hire a consultant for. Data collection, marketing, social media, all sorts of things. And people like to hire consultants because they do bring that fresh perspective. Even if you're a specialist in it yourself, you can be a branding specialist, but you'd hire someone else to help you with your own branding because it does give that fresh perspective. And also, if it's something that's short term, it's much less expensive for a company to hire a consultant for a specific project than to hire someone full time, because it's going to be over. And then what are you going to do? So the consultant focuses on one agreed job, usually. I know I said usually, but there's always an exception. Now, the biggest reason you want to look at this, why consultants fail, and this is one of the drivers for this course, is that consulting's not easy, right? There are a ton of consultants out there. People get leads. Maybe they win the business, maybe they don't, but they're failing at different points in there and fail to grow that business. Usually it's because they maybe didn't establish the right parameters or establish parameters at all in the beginning. Maybe they're not asking the right questions, getting accurate data. There's internal politics they have to deal with. Aren't clear decision makers in the client side. If you've done any consulting at all, you'll recognize these, right? So just remember that consultants recommend and implement. They bring a fresh pair of eyes, and all these things why consultants fail, they're all going to be addressed in the course. So moving on to lesson 2, the top 2 consulting models. So this is going to sound familiar too. So there's the specialist consultant, that's someone with specific experience. So something like the branding expert or the closet organizer. And there's IT, training, financial expert. These are all types of consultants in a specific area. And there are pros and cons to each. You can get started quickly, provide quick results, but there's also, downfalls to any of these models. For instance, if you're just looking from your perspective as an expert in IT, that you're already biased to see that as the solution, whereas there may be other factors, and usually there are involved. So if you can't do a more holistic view, you might not really be solving the problem. So there are pros and cons to that model. And then an advisory consultant diagnoses a problem overall and advises on alternatives and solutions. So that is taking that more holistic view, looking at various things, but may not have the expertise in all the areas. So that's a pretty familiar approach that you've heard before, taking that overall picture and analyzing where a problem is. That works when the problem is clearer, but the solution is not. So there are some cons to that as well. Things like relying on the company data. You might have to help the client get the data. They have to be open to having consultant analyze things and show the problem. So there's different pros and cons to each model, and I'm sure they're familiar to you. And a lot of people have that mix. So you might be an expert, like I said, in IT or website development, but if you're familiar enough and you can go in and do a bigger analysis, you can recommend one solution and identify other ones that are needed. So that's pretty common. So here's an example that's in the program. Training consultant who's part advisor, part specialist. So in this case, the client problem, it might be an increasing number of telephone complaints from angry customers, and the customer support staff isn't dealing well with it. So the consultant, that training consultant, will help identify the root problem, which is not just about training. So there's delivery delays, customer frustration. So part of the solution will be maybe training support staff on how to handle the customer complaints. But you recognize that there's another thing that needs to be solved on something like delivery times. And your client then gets value on both sides. And you raise yourself way above other consultants when you can pinpoint other problems as well and help them with that. All right, so let's just move straight in now. And again, questions, pop them in. I know I'm going to be moving fast here. So the second module is all about the skills and qualities of high-performing consultants and applying those. So qualities you go through are things like confidence, professionalism, respecting others' opinions, sensitivity, humility. I mentioned some of those earlier as well. And we go through each of those. It has a description. So qualities is a little harder to talk about and teach, but there are some exercises. So each one of these modules has some action steps that you can do. In this case, recognizing the qualities is going to be the major step, recognizing the qualities that you have already as that will make you successful, and which ones you might want to work on, and ways that you can demonstrate your professionalism. Those are all keys. And we're not going into deep skill building here, like listening skills and stuff, because you want to get in a consulting success formula course, you want to get straight into all those other factors as well that lead to success. This course isn't the actual process of consulting on a very specific topic. Most consultants have their proven process that they work through. But these are all things in this course that will apply to any type of consulting, and whether you're successful or not. So skills that every consultant needs fall into two categories: problem solving, right? And project management. Those are the two keys. The problem solving, whether it's directly related to your expertise or something more holistic, and project management is where so many consultants fail. If you can't really clearly manage your project, and there are a lot of factors involved there. So skills for problem solving, going to feel familiar to you. Listening, so active listening. And for each one of these skills, there's a description of what it is and then how you can demonstrate it. So listening is probably the most important skill for anything. It's consulting, coaching, working in a retail store, selling someone a t-shirt. All of those things require listening carefully. And they all require some degree of problem solving. So listening is about building rapport and empathy and asking good questions, confirming the emotion that you hear, clarifying what someone's heard, summarizing, and avoiding looking at your phone. So hopefully you're not looking at your phone right now either. But that is actually a huge problem now, looking at your phone. It's so irresistible. All that text, all those text messages coming in. And let's see, asking questions, I mentioned that. Ask question, listen to the answer. You need to help your clients clarify their thinking, and then you have to make sure you understand what they said. So the two go hand in hand, and you're always asking those who, what, where, and how questions, the open-ended ones, not yes or no ones, and persisting in pushing, getting deeper and deeper to the root of a problem. This is all part of the problem solving. Then the next skill, we've got listening, asking questions, building relationships is going to be another key skill. Effective working relationships lead to a successful project. You have to demonstrate your willingness. That's part of it. Showing that you're working together with the client to solve the problem. That's all essential as a consultant. Facilitating decision-making. This is critical as a consultant because you do need to recommend a solution, but you need to help the client see that and make a decision about it. Help them evaluate the pros and cons, weigh risks, select a solution, get a discussion going if the conversation stalls. All of that is part of consulting as well, one of the skills involved. And you can show that by just keeping an open mind, encouraging people to share their opinions. And then we have analytical skills, so collecting, gathering, and analyzing information for the client. That's another one of the key skills for problem solving. And you show that by making evidence-based recommendations and staying objective and not drawing a conclusion based on your own opinions. You should always do it based on data, and then you can bring your expertise in as well. Okay, that's another thing with consultants, something you have to be able to do. Most people have their own frame of reference that they're used to, and they've worked with a number of clients maybe, and you have to pull yourself away because most consultants do tend to try and fit a client into a box, into a standard solution. And as to be a high-performing consultant, somebody that's really exceptional, you need to stay objective and figure out, based on the data and the questions you ask and the answers you hear, what the right solution is for that client. Even if you have packages as your solution that you offer, you need to stay objective. So that is the analytical skills. And those were all the problem solving skills. And then there's the skills for project management. So again, the two sides of consulting skills are problem solving, project management. And project management are things like organizational skills, scheduling, budgeting, delegating, monitoring, creating clear project documents, sticking to agreed budgets, paying attention to detail, time management, deadlines, delegating. There's lots of tools involved to use, communicating progress and results. That's all part of project management. Being clear, having regular touch points, all of this is essential. Managing the relationships throughout a project, nurturing those relationships. Working with stakeholders is a big part, especially if you are working with a company where there are multiple people involved, or even if just 2 or 3 people, anyone who has a stake in that project and in that outcome, you need to be able to work with. You might have subject matter experts as well. Might have, in a bigger company, there might be a legal compliance department and a variety of different departments. So you need to be consistent with all of those, follow through on commitments, manage that project seamlessly. All right. And there is a skills exercise in here that goes with the course that has 2 different exercises, one on problem solving and one on project management. And I can open that up really quickly so you can see that. It is so remember I said to you that with the course you get student materials, instructor materials, and lead generation materials, a full funnel, sales funnel. In the student materials, there's an action guide folder. And you'll see there's an action guide where people complete the different activities and taking notes and other things for each one of the modules. But there are a few other things as well. A skills exercise, which I just talked about, And then some things around doing your pre-proposal meeting, project meeting. So the skills exercise looks like this. There are two parts. The first part has to do with problem solving, and they both require you to work with a partner. So this, depending on how you want to deliver this course, you can do it a couple different ways. You could do it live, right? And then separate people afterwards. So just do it in live segments. And at the end of this particular lesson, you can facilitate pairing people up so that they can actually work together on the exercises. And if you have something like a community, you can help that way. If you're working with smaller groups, you can match them up, just do a little form and get information about each person. If you're doing this, like a lot of people do, as a recorded online course, people are going to have to find their own partner. So you just have that here, choose a partner you can work with on the two exercises. So it could be a colleague, it could be a family member, a friend. Give them some suggestions. So you can do it either way. If you were to do this in a live classroom setting, which plenty of people do as well, then again, you'd partner people up and have them go work separately, quietly in a different room. It takes a little bit longer to do it that way. Most people these days do like to do it virtual, so then you'd have to match people up. And you can even do that virtually on something like Zoom, where you have people go into separate rooms to do it. But when it comes to something like a skills exercise like this, you really do need people to partner up, whether they're picking someone on their own or you're assigning them to a partner as well. All right, so that's what that looks like. There's like 16 pages here that guides them through practicing all those skills on a project of their own. So maybe identify a problem inside their own company that they have at work, maybe something else they've done before where they can work as a consultant with somebody else. All right, it's all role playing. So just going back to the slides now, we've got them going through that, right? And so that's module 2. That was the skills and qualities of a consultant. So you get them started with that, and then they've got some basis for their skills, but they can't really do much with those unless they have a client, right? So this module is all about actually winning the client, winning the project. This is module 3. And how are we doing time-wise? Okay. So there are 3 lessons in here. There is the pre-proposal meeting, right? So you have to gather information in order to be able to put together a proposal for a client, for a prospective client. There's actually writing your proposal and presenting it. And then there's setting up your performance measures. So those are the 3 key things. And in order to win the project, you need to have enough information first to put together that proposal. This is where you can't just say, oh, you need some social media help? Oh, well, we have these 3 packages. Take your pick. That's not going to work. You need a website? Oh, well, I do these 3 different websites. Which one do you want? You have to be able to gather the information. So the pre-proposal meeting is what that's all about. Investigating available company information, getting questions together. You want to be able to talk to the people. How you're going to demonstrate your credibility. You want to plan that in advance. And if you have a team, how you're going to do that with them. So you can have a meeting, a pre-proposal meeting, where you're going in with more than one person, but you plan for that meeting. And in some cases, even be able to close the deal. So the example is someone like a wedding planner. So not a business related thing, but a wedding planner where it's not that complicated and you might be able to go in and close a deal in the first conversation. So the process in here is you want to clarify their ideal project outcome. So help the client define the real issue. The easiest way to do that, and because then you next need to look at the solution, is to do a gap analysis. So the gap analysis is 5 steps. This is the only real tool we have in here that is going to be applicable to any type of consulting. All right, so this, you'll probably have heard of this before, a gap analysis. Depending on what field of consulting you were in or your students are in, you would use other tools as well. But the gap analysis helps you figure out what the solution would be. So you state the ideal situation. So you work with a client, they already have some vision of what their ideal would be. So you get them to explain that as the starting point. Then you explore the current situation and its boundaries. So what is the problem? What are the limits? Where does it happen? There's a variety of different questions you can ask. What is it? Where is it? Where isn't it a problem? When is it a problem? When is it not a problem? Who's involved? Who isn't involved? So asking all those sorts of questions so you know the limits around it. And I see a question in here. Oh, Tevya. Hello, Tevya. I hope you are doing well. Hope you're feeling well. The number of aspects of consulting, are there related courses that go deeper into those areas? So we don't have courses that are maybe specific to social media consulting or marketing consulting or wedding planning. They're all so unique in a variety of ways. So a social media consultant, I don't know if there's a demand for something in particular, I can look into creating that. But the differences here in this course, these are all things that would apply to anybody who's doing consulting. And then if you have an expertise in a certain area, you would have your own proven process for doing that. So if you are a branding consultant, most branding consultants have their method of recommending things. So we can look at doing a course on something like that if it makes sense. So Tavia, you said social media in general, customer relations in general. Let's talk about it separately, Tavia, because I can think of a number of different things. Like we have training on things like customer service and social media and branding, things like that. So somebody that would want to be a branding consultant, you would want to come up with your own process. And we have a course on creating your signature system. So I would use something like that to do it and have someone look at their own expertise. And then we have, what's your proven process? So let's talk about that because there are a lot of different things we can do there that to niche it down. But this particular course is a success formula for all consultants, particularly business, but it works for everyone. So you have to be able to go through something like this gap analysis I'm talking about, exploring the situation, the problems, the boundaries. You can see how this would apply to anyone. And if you were working with students who are just in one field of consulting, so say something like customer service, just in a certain field, or branding, then you could tailor this course to have specific examples just for those people. And then if you want to build in something like a proven process for working on customer relations or social media issues, then you could build out a module just on that. Just thinking about ways to customize this. Yeah. All right. So we can talk about that more. The gap analysis I was going through, I'm just going to go back, Tevya. You then identify the gaps. So you state the ideal situation, look at the problem itself and all the boundaries. Where is it a problem? When? Who? All those different aspects. Identify the gap. So where does now that you know where the problem lies, what kind of solution would you like there to be? What does a solution look like? What's the outcome that you'd like to see? thinking about ways to affect a change. So that's the gap between the ideal situation and looking at the problem in there, what solution you want. So ideal, problem, gap. And then you evaluate alternatives. So that's the next step in the gap analysis of what are some solutions that have worked in the past, what were the results there, so that you can see whether maybe there's a solution that was good but just wasn't implemented well, or maybe it was good and we can refine it a bit, or maybe you've tried something that could work, or tried something that you know is a complete failure. There's lots of different things you can do at different evaluating different alternatives versus just jumping to a conclusion and saying, okay, well, this is the solution. Or if something was used in the past, but you can see why it might not have worked but should have, don't just rule it out straight away. And then deciding on the next step. So remember, we're in the pre-proposal meeting or analysis. So you're gathering the information to write a project proposal. So the next step should be doing another meeting, putting together a written proposal, a presentation, things like that. So you need to agree that next step. And then in terms of the action steps that you're going to have people take, this is where those extra worksheets come in. So you can have people, your students, plan a pre-proposal meeting, look at what sort of research. So I'm assuming now that you have students who are already consultants or are very new and have ideas for the type of clients that they want. So this isn't for someone, the course isn't for someone who is just thinking about becoming a consultant and has no idea. This is for people who are either new, so they've got something going, or they're just getting off the ground, or they're struggling, or maybe people who are at a stagnant level and need to revisit their skills and start to expand those and get some growth into their business again. So they might have tons of leads and just not be converting them. So you'll have them do a pre-proposal meeting. We give them a checklist. Let's see, where's that? Where's my mouse gone? There it is. So there's a meeting checklist you're going to give them for the pre-proposal meeting. And that's just a real short one for Kickstart stakeholders. Actually, this is not the one. Project hard. Sorry, it's in the action guide. The other checklists are for when you actually kickstart the meeting. Win the project. This is the action guide, so you can go to any of these. Pre-proposal meeting. There it is. So you plan it out, think about some questions you can ask. All of this is places to take notes. Then do the gap analysis for a problem at work you might have and go through that. Again, can do it with a partner to help get some unbiased feedback. So this is the exercise in there. All right, let me close this up. Head back to the slides. Okay, let's keep moving. And hi, Cheryl, I see you. I didn't say hi. Hey. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to work my way through. All right, next thing is actually proposing your services. So this module, by the way, just as an aside, this is all actually getting the business initially. So it's a really great module to deliver on its own as well if you have people who are struggling with winning clients. They need all those skills. They need to be able to run the projects, but this is a good one for actually writing proposals. So hopefully you can see how you could pull these out also as mini courses. So something like this could easily be a mini course. You go into proposing your services. This is proposal writing. So anyone who's a consultant typically needs to write a proposal for the client, whether it's a formal proposal or something, just to an existing client that's just in an email of some sort. And you need strong writing skills for that, even if it's something very short. So these are just some things you have to be able to do. Pay attention to details, think strategically, summarize key points, use excellent grammar and spelling. That's a big deal for me. that I believe in that. So how to actually win the contract when it comes to the proposal, there are two types. Like I said, there's the formal one, which is called an RFP, or request for proposal. So you may have heard this before, and there are usually very strict guidelines for that. And then you might have some less formal ones, an existing client. It may be very informal, but you still need to go through that process so that it's very clear. Otherwise, if you are doing one project for a client and then you move on to another one without really analyzing the problem and setting those expectations and the scope of it, it can start getting fuzzy, and that's a good way to lose a client in the end, because you've taken things for granted, or maybe taken it for granted they know what you're talking about. And then there's brand new clients, you would need something more comprehensive. So there are a few key elements you want to cover in any proposal. There's the context of the problem itself. So there's the context, where is it sitting? There's the problem itself, and you gather that information so that you can identify the problem in that pre-proposal meeting. There's your proposed solution, so what you can do, what you will provide. There's your methodology. There's the time frame of how you'll achieve that. And then there's the other details, your company information, biographies, references, the financial side. So what's it going to cost? What fees? How's it broken down? When payments made? And contact details. So all of those have to go into a proposal. And there are a lot of proposal templates that you'll find out there. You can obviously adjust it. And if you're doing a request for proposal, RFP, formal one, it will likely have the specifics of what you need to include. And get people to check it. Then you need to submit it, ideally face-to-face or virtual of some sort, versus just sending it in written. And you'd want to create a slideshow, summarize your points, all of that fun stuff. In terms of slideshows, just as a separate aside, I want to show you, because we don't provide this because there are so many already. In Canva, you can find a lot of different project proposals. So if you go, say, to create a presentation in Canva, and remember it's free, say you want to do just a regular one. There are a lot of templates, and you can just put in something like project proposal, and you'll come up with all these different templates. So if you need to do one, what you could do when you're teaching this is you could go into Canva, take one of the ones that's already here, put together whatever pages would be relevant for your audience, whether it's social media or something else, and then create it as with your own branding, customize it, and actually share that as a template, so a brand new template with your own students so that they have something to work with. And there's so many in here that, there's no shortage of different things. Just filter in. Some of them are pro ones. I have a pro account, but there are plenty of free ones in here as well. So just a little aside there. Let's go back. All right. So those are the sorts of things that you put in here. And action steps, have people actually start looking at how they would put this together. Something about, have them think about they're going to be writing a proposal, have them write a paragraph of why they should be picked as the consultant. So have them start thinking about what they would put into a proposal, have them look at ones that have been unsuccessful in the past and why they believe. Now that they have some context of what it takes to win a proposal, have them start thinking about why a previous one was not successful, and have them put together their own slideshow template. And you can, like I said, send them over to Canva or give them one that they can customize. All right. And the third lesson in this module is actually setting up the project. So I'm going to kind of skim through this one because there's a lot more to cover. And we're moving along here. So there's a lot of different tools. Consultants should be leveraging these things. So project management software. I use Asana, A lot of people love Trello. Team collaboration tools. These are all typical. I use Asana, but also we use Zoom. There's document stuff, time tracking, Toggle's really popular, invoicing stuff as well. You can use things like QuickBooks or FreshBooks, file sharing, so Dropbox and Google Drive. We use those, direct messaging, all these different things. So one of the things you can do when you're teaching it is pick out the ones that are your favorites and put them in here so that you can actually speak to them. I could talk about Dropbox quite easily, but I couldn't talk about Discord, for instance, because I don't use it. Performance measures, make sure you have some KPIs as well before you kick off the project. And there's a bunch of different things here. This is actually really important to do as well before actually starting a project. So what are the different measures? So a KPI is a key performance indicator. That is your measure of success for the project, which is also going to be the client's measure for success. But you need to have your own measures too. And a client may specify things also. So there's things like completing the project, how satisfied the customer is, how well you communicate throughout, the scope. Did you stick to the scope? Go outside the scope. Was it implemented, the solution? All those are possible KPIs. And you do that for each project and then have people pick their tech tools. So now let's get into module 4, since I am spending much longer than I had planned. Sorry about that. I always do this, right? With every course. So implement a results-focused consulting process. There are 2 main lessons in here. There's the kickoff of your consulting project, absolutely key. Again, a lot of people skip this. And then there are other keys to consulting success. And the kickoff meeting is going to be critical because you need to, for instance, 1, agree on project parameters. Yes, you may have already signed something that they've agreed to your proposal, but then when you kick it off, you need to have very specific parameters, because a lot of consulting projects fail because this sort of thing was not agreed on up front. So there's the project scope, deliverables, the methodology and time frame, communication, data gathering. All of these are part of that upfront stuff, the parameters that you need to agree on. Scope, what the project entails and what it doesn't. And this is something that is constantly a problem for consultants, because clients say, oh, well, that sounds really good too. Can you just add that in there? Can you just do that? And it's easy for your project to get bigger and bigger, and you haven't agreed any additional fees that you're going to get paid for. That happens very quickly. So you need to specify what business issues are going to be addressed, the impact addressed, the objectives, the main project deliverables, methodology and time frame. All those things need to be specified. The deliverables need to be specified as well. So you have things like what the budget, time, communication, all those things impact the deliverables and need to be agreed on. Methodology, these are things I mentioned already, and you need to specify again at the very beginning of the project, even though it was discussed when you were doing your proposal. So how the objectives are going to be met, how you're going to gather data, how you'll deliver things, how you configure a new tech system, if it's something like some software you're putting in place, all of that has to be specified. Communication guidelines are really important, how often you're going to communicate, who the key point of contact is. That has definitely proved a problem in the past. I've had that experience where somebody may be the key point of contact, but then they send you to someone else and someone else and someone else. And then before you know it, nobody can make a decision because you don't have one central person as your key point. Who's going to be on the team, who's going to be working from your side, when and how to communicate progress, all of that, how frequent, preferred way of communicating. You don't want one person who likes to communicate on WhatsApp and someone else's wants to do email and someone else is communicating in the project management software. It gets very confusing. And this, I know if you've done consulting of any sort, this all probably sounds familiar. I have definitely had this. I've had this working with consultants who, one consultant wants to communicate via WhatsApp. Another consultant sends things via Messenger. Another person is sending me emails and I'm the client. I want to do it this way in my project management software. So you have to be very, very specific and you have to work with what the client wants and make sure. So you're managing the client, but you're also being flexible about what they want. There's a bit of both in consulting. So give them the guidance on that. And data gathering. So you be specific about what data you're gathering, what the company or the client's going to give you. That's all essential. Budgets, project charter. So project charter is where you're laying out all the different details and making sure the client is on board and signs that and gets that done. And then you draw up a project plan with all the little specifics. Now that you know the scope, and the budget and the timing and everything else, you can lay out a detailed project plan. And that's where project management software comes in really helpful. So this is where I'd shown you before. There's some tools in here with the action guide. So there's this checklist for your Kickstart meeting. These are all the things you want to make sure that you've done when you kick off a project. So there's a quick little checklist there, and you can just customize that before you give it to a student. There's the project charter. So this is all the stuff we were just talking about with all the different elements that you want to make sure you agree with the client before you start actually delivering services. So you've gotten the business, but you want to agree all these specifics and get them to sign off. And this is something you'd also probably want to customize a bit based on who your students are. Obviously, you're going to add your branding to all of this stuff. But this all needs to be done and agreed. Please, please, please do that, even if it's only at a very high level in an email. Make sure you cover it all so it's clear. Even if you know the client, you've worked with them a gazillion times before, make it clear if it's a new project. And then we have a project plan template. I said that project management software comes in really useful here. I love Asana for this. Everyone has their favorite, but we put something together just as kind of a template that you can look at and give people also that they can just fill in different things. It has to be flexible, which is why project management software is much better for this kind of thing. But you could give them, you could just brand this, put a background on it and give them this. Actually, you could even put this into something like Canva so that it's branded, but it's much easier to edit this kind of thing if it's in something like a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet. I just highly recommend you point them to a project management software, but it's here so you can see the layout and what they might want to put into their own project management tool once they've picked one. So recommend whatever you use as well. And hi, Chris. I'm glad you're here as well. Oh, I'm glad this is useful. That's really good to hear. I don't always know, when I'm doing these live streams, and I never quite know because I can't see your faces. That's the downside of this kind of thing. But maybe I should do some of these on Zoom. So that was the other thing in there. Now let's go back to the slideshows. So the keys to consulting success. So we did the first one. What was this one called again? This was the kickoff, I think. Module. Yeah, this was the kickoff. Actually agreeing everything, getting that project charter done. And that's a pretty long module all on its own. Whoops. Here. Always, whenever you want to find the beginning of a new lesson, look out for the module title, the lesson title, and then it comes right after whatever action steps are on the previous slide, because you're going to want to record these as separate videos if you're doing them as videos, and end at the action steps, and then start your new one with the next lesson. All right, so the next lesson here is your keys to consulting success. And here we've got actually conducting the consulting project. So those are the keys. Again, this applies to any type of consulting. So you have to be prepared in any consulting project for things to change. So first, there are the typical success factors, successful behaviors. So agreeing on clear expectations, getting stakeholder buy-in, following a proven process. So that's Tevye we were talking about before, where everyone's going to have a different process depending on what they're doing. So a branding expert's going to have their proven process for branding, which may be to have the client fill in some sort of questionnaire about their values and the emotions they want the client to feel and colors and things like that. And maybe they have a process where they survey existing customers and they do some competitive research into branding, and then they have some other things involved, but every different business is going to have their own proven process, and that's something that would be, like you said, maybe a different course or a piece of this course where you could slot it in. So that's that part, and then the rest is going to apply to anyone. So giving regular progress updates, managing the relationship, surpassing your performance measures, your expectations. But there's also potential problems, and this is where a lot of consultants do fall down and have problems, and their project goes, out the window, off the deep end. Clients upset, clients canceling, angry phone calls in the middle of the night, all that sort of stuff, which you may or may not have experienced. But some of the most common ones, scope creep, I hear about probably number one, when a client asks for more than was agreed. And that leads to delays, increased costs, deviation from project goals, sleepless nights, headaches, stress, gaining weight, losing weight, all those things scope creep does to you and to the client. And because they also lose track of the purpose of that project in the first place when it starts getting bigger and bigger. So it's okay for a client to ask for more, but you also have to manage. This is where managing the client is part of your job as a consultant also, is pointing out to them, okay, great, we can add that in, but this is the impact it's going to have on the whole project. So the action you take is you tell the client about the cost, time implications, how it revises the deliverables, what impact it might have on other stakeholders, especially if you have different deliverables for different stakeholders, and then amend your project plan and agree to it. It doesn't have to be a big involved thing, but you still have to do that. So that's really important on scope creep. Compliance, there might be legal things I mentioned earlier on that sometimes you have to work with a compliance department. I've done that before when in doing training with financial institutions, and it's something you have to really be aware of. It can completely derail a project if you suddenly find out, oh, this has to go, the client says to you, oh, this has to go through our compliance department. Well, if they never said that before and you didn't know and you didn't plan for it, and the compliance department, the main person's on vacation, or it normally takes them 3 weeks to approve something, your whole timeline's gone out the window. So that's just one example, but make sure there's anything to do with compliance agreed. And you need to just stay informed about any requirements, have systems and processes in place if that's something relevant to your business. Lack of agreement among stakeholders. If you have multiple stakeholders or you don't have access to the right people, then that's going to cause a problem. So you have to go back to your key contact person. That's, again, why you want to have that one key contact person who can actually help you help you get access to the right people, help resolve any issues there. Sometimes, again, you don't have the right people, they're not cooperating, somebody isn't answering your phone calls, and you have to get information from them. That can be a big problem. So you, again, have that contact person you go to. Relationship breakdowns. This can happen if you're just not the right fit for the client. Hopefully you've figured that out early on, and that's why you do all that work up front, the pre-proposal meeting where you're actually discussing different things and staying objective, but it can still happen, certainly. Maybe they have you just don't have the skills. Maybe there is some other issue involved, having difficulty communicating. So if there's a problem like that, if you have a team, you might be able to find someone else on your team to take the lead. So I've had that experience way back as well, where we had one person on the team who just was always clashing with the key contact at the client. So then another person was able to take over who just was able to build the rapport more easily and didn't have that clash. So that can happen too. So that's the most common problems, and that's the keys in this module to go through. And again, action steps. So the last couple modules are all about actually bringing it to a conclusion and looking at the results. So this one you may not be as familiar with, but at the end of every project, you want to evaluate success, report to the client. So I'm going to skim through this a little bit quickly because we actually are over time. But bringing it to successful conclusion, consulting projects do typically have a beginning and end, is evaluating success. So you've figured out performance measures. Did you meet or exceed your goals? Did you deliver expected outcomes? So there's various ways the course goes through on that. Risks, identifying where there's further work needed so you can sell on additional stuff, additional services, projects, and doing an internal review with your own team. The other thing is reporting to the client. So submitting an actual written report. This is how you're also going to win more business, showing the findings, what your goals were, did you fit within the budget and timeline, what other factors affected the results, because maybe you didn't get the exact results, but there were other things that happened during that process, and the main conclusions, recommendations, things like that. So a lot of people never do this with a project. So you're really going to stand out with this sort of thing as well. And then if you can do that at a meeting, that's where you're going to get the most value, and you're going to get, if you're recommending next steps, you're going to get more business. And you can end the project, ask for feedback, make sure you do all that, look for future work, get referrals. Don't forget about referrals, and have your students work on that. And then there's the next steps module. So just going back to what you had asked Tevya before, consulting frameworks, we just mentioned this in the next steps, coming up with your own signature consulting framework over time. So you may have your own process of not just your, say, how you recommend, how you work to solve a problem, come up with a recommendation like a branding solution. But there's also how you manage a project can be your own framework too. So we teach one thing in this course that are the keys to success with every type of consultant, but you could tailor that. Any consultant can tailor that to what their signature framework is. And that can be part of what you're selling, your methodology, when you're putting together a proposal. So that's a next step thing, and how you're going to stand out. And then, of course, you finish up the course. And that is the full course. Okay, I've talked for an hour, really going quickly through the course. And like I said, we're out of time on this, but I do want to show you a couple things. I want to show you the bonus, because I know people are going to ask about that, and it's not the same as all the others we've done. We have that challenge, but there's another thing too. Just real quickly, make sure you know the URL for the course, contentsparks.com/consulting skills. And again, the sales page looks like that when you get to it. But let me show you that bonus as well, because like I said, there's an early bird bonus. This is the sales page. Here. So there are 2 early bird bonuses if you get this before Tuesday. So now I have to shift into that mode. It is launch bonuses, early bird bonuses. So if you've gotten any of our courses before, our big courses at launch, you know that we give this ready to go challenge. So we have that again here. It's always related to whatever the opt-in report is in the lead generation materials. So this is one of our big courses that comes with a full funnel, so that you have a lead magnet and follow-up emails and blog posts to drive traffic to that, and other stuff as well. And then we put that into a challenge format, because one of the easiest ways to build an audience for your course and actually get them to sign up is to build some rapport, some of that know, like, and trust. And then it's a natural next step to say, okay, I want to learn more. I want to take your full course. So the challenge based on that opt-in report is 5 ways to ensure all your consulting clients are thrilled with your services. So you go through 5 different things that are going to help with consulting success, and each day they do something different. So this outlines all of it in terms of emails. And then what you can do is use the slideshow in the lead generation materials if you want to have this as something you can deliver as a video or a live stream. So you'll see each of the days. The first one is setting expectations before your project starts. So you'll see it's kind of a high level of some of the stuff in the course. And then there's an action step for each one that they can do in one day in a short period of time. So they can look at a past consulting assignment. Where did a lack of clear expectations cause a problem? Make a list of the expectations you're going to set with your next client. And then you have a worksheet for them to fill in. And that is the same for each day. There's something. So the second day is use a proven process. There's information about that. And then they have a task to do for that day. Do you have a process you currently follow with your clients? Write it down and why you do it. Outline the process you're going to follow with your next one. So that is, let me show you something else. So I'd said you could use the slides in the lead generation materials. So you'll see, I said there's a whole funnel. You've got a lead magnet report. A cheat sheet is just your outline. We have that for the course book too. It's like a summary of everything in there. And there's a slideshow. So you could easily use this with that challenge stuff if you wanted to do it, a little live stream every day and have some slides. So that's the challenge. And I said there's some worksheets that go with that too. But the assessment is the last thing I'm going to show you. So the assessment comes in 2 forms. There's a DocX version, and then there's a Canva version. So the Word document just looks like this. It's in a table format, very straightforward, 30 statements. Do you have what it takes to be a successful consultant? And this you can brand, put into a PDF, send to people. It's a great thing as a lead magnet again. So while we give you a lead magnet and that challenge, this can be a really small one that people love to take assessments. So you can just give them this to download. They send you their email. They have to put in their email address and you send them the results. So there are a lot of different tools online for putting this into an assessment as well, where you can automate collecting their emails, like Thrive quizzes. There are other tools as well. If you're teaching this, just find one that you like, and preferably that you could sign up as an affiliate for, and then recommend that as well to your students. So this is for the course. let's see. Let me just show you it in Canva as well. Yeah, I just realized I'm talking about assessments, but you're going to use whatever tool works for you because you are the one who's collecting the emails. So pick what works for you. Like I said, I use Thrive quizzes. Let's see. Let me open this one. So it also comes in a Canva template. And what you get is a PDF. Again, this is just an early bird bonus. You're going to get a PDF that looks like this. Hopefully you can see this. And you would just click on that link. You'll see there's a template. You're going to say use template. It's going to make a copy of it. You have to sign up for Canva, obviously, but there's a free version. Like I said, I have a paid one, so it's going to show some more stuff. But it'll make a copy. You can rename it, and then you can go through and change anything in here. If you don't like the statements, change the statements. So this way, if you want to give it out as a PDF, then you can just print it as a PDF. So you make any changes, and then you go into share, and you can download, it as a PDF like for printing, that kind of thing. And then what you do if you use it as a lead magnet, you would have to make this a download that people do. So you'd have an opt-in page, find out if you have what it takes to become a consultant. So here, you send them this PDF with the results, and in the results at the end, you want to make sure that you have a link to your course. So you put in a link there as well. Okay. Let me go back a second. So those are the two early bird bonuses as well as the discount. So I'm going to go back up to the top here on my other screen. So just to summarize a little bit here, you have the two early bird bonuses, and you don't need to see this anymore. I'm going to come back. All right, I'm back. So I walked through the whole course. I showed you the launch bonuses. There's the challenge kit and the assessment. Do you have what it takes? Which can be a lead magnet or an extra. And actually, Tevya, you asked about that. Would the template course be useful? Template course. Do you mean the template assessment? I'm not sure I know what you mean. So just if you can just clarify, Tevya, that would be great. The assessment you could use also as a pre-qualifier for somebody to take the course. So it can be a lead magnet, which also qualifies someone whether they want to take the course or whether it's a good fit for them. But you could use it for, say, coaching. So if you're a coach who you have somebody who wants to become a consultant, you could work with them on that, have them fill in that assessment, and then help them identify, where their weaknesses are, and then use the course itself as part of one-on-one coaching. So I know we have these set up to be courses, online courses, but there are some of our customers use them as one-to-one coaching programs, one-to-one or group coaching. Tabby, you meant, our course on using templates. Yeah. So, it's an interesting idea. So, yeah, actually, that's a good point. So we have a course on how to streamline your business using templates. And that would be an interesting add-on. So I would start with, if somebody already has a consulting practice, that would be a really interesting add-on if you have, say, a membership or a training series, because one of the things that's going to help them is doing templates for their process, for their onboarding, for all their forms, their proposals. Yeah, those are all templates. So you could take that course and customize it for consultants and give them examples that are specific to a consulting business as well. internal things, communications, all of that has to do with templates and systems and stuff. So yeah, good idea. Though we do have a couple other courses that we put in here as upsells in here, as discounts as well. I'll show you really quickly. So when you add this to your cart, you should end up on this page, which says, just one last thing. Let me hide this for a second. And there's the upgrade pack that has sales page copy and module quizzes. So the module quizzes are quizzes you can put at the end of each of the training modules and lessons to test people's knowledge or let them self-test. And then there's sales page copy, a template with copy that you can plug into your own sales page template to help you with selling this course and enrolling students. So that's one with placeholders. But here we also have a couple other things on special. So essential sales skills. This is a really good course as an add-on because it dives deeper into some of those consulting skills that are also essential for selling in general. So it's going to help them when they need to do the presenting and questioning and stuff like that. So this is a really good add-on. And then from prospect to paying client is a course where they learn how to use strategy sessions, free strategy sessions to sell your services. So that's a really good add-on as well, especially for high price consulting services. So that's another thing you can use. Those are both in there, obviously optional, not essential. So let me come back here. Where was I? All right, I am going to wrap up here in a second, unless there's any other questions. Just taking a look through. Chris said, done. Oh, you purchased it. Purchasing now. I see that now. Done. Watching you gave me a few ideas that are simply amazing. I can't wait to create with this content. Awesome. I want to hear about it too, Chris. That'd be great. I haven't seen you in a while, so I really want to hear. I want to hear what you're up to. So if you can, pop me an email or post something in the customer group, because I really want to hear what's going on and what you do with the course. That'll be really exciting. And I do not see anything else in here. So I'm going to sign off. I've been much yakking away here, and it's even just me. Consulting Success Strategy, that's the name of the course. Consulting Success Formula, that is the name of the course. This is the URL, contentsparks.com/consulting skills. You've got until Tuesday, the 11th. Today's Friday. That's next Tuesday. So only a few days if you want to get the early bird bonuses. So it's normally $297. The launch price is $97, but the early bird bonuses, the 5-day challenge kit, and the assessment you need to get right away. Okay, so no pressure, just a few days. All right, and let me know if you have any questions at all. You can reach me. Actually, you can send anything into support@contentsparks.com, and Fiona sees that. And if it's a question she can't answer, she asks me, because I'm in London at the moment traveling, and she's on a different time zone as well. All right. Take care, everybody. Let me know your questions and let me know how you do with this. All right. Thanks for listening.